US women's soccer team accuses Federation of wage discrimination. This is discrimination in football special feature. But yeah, from the 31st of March 2016, 5 members of the US women's soccer team have filed a federal wage discrimination complaint against US soccer after it was revealed that the World Cup winners were paid 4 times less than their male counterparts last year. The action submitted by Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe, and Becky Sauerbrunn and Hope Solo on behalf of the entire team references figures from the Federation's 2015 financial report, which showed the reigning World Cup and Olympic champions received far less money than the men's team, despite generating nearly $20 million more in revenue. That is a key point right there. Recently, it's become clear that the Federation has no intention of providing us equal pay for equal work, Rapinoe said in a press release announcing the filing. Lloyd, Solo, Morgan and Sauerbrunn appeared on NBC's Today Show to talk about the vastly unequal pay they received for equal work. In this day and age, it's about equality, Solo said. It's about equal rights, it's about equal pay. We're pushing for that. We believe now the time is right because we believe it's our responsibility for women's sports and specifically for women's soccer to do whatever it takes to push for equal pay and equal rights and to be treated with respect. I've been on this team for a decade and a half. I've been through numerous CBA negotiations and honestly, not much has changed, she continued. We continue to be told we should be grateful just to have the opportunity to play professional soccer to get paid for doing it. I think the timing is right, Lloyd said. I think we've proven our worth over the years. Just coming off a World Cup win, the pay disparity between men and women is just too large. We want to continue to fight. The generation of players before us fought, and now it's our job to keep on fighting. The US national team is the most successful women's soccer team in history. They won the inaugural World Cup in '91, repeated their success 8 years later in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Last summer, they defeated Japan 5-2 in the final with Vancouver to become the first team to lift the trophy 3 times. Jeffrey Kessler, who's the player's lawyer, described US soccer's salary structure as unfair and discriminatory. He said the women's team has been shortchanged on everything from bonuses and appearance fees to per diems. This is the strongest case of discrimination against women athletes in violation of law that I have ever seen, Kessler said. In early January, the Women's National Team Players Association submitted a reasonable proposal for a new CBA that had equal pay for equal work as its guiding principle. US Soccer responded by suing the players in effort to keep in place the discriminatory and unfair treatment they have endured for years. Here's one of them. Sauerbrunn said the team backed the motion fully. 5 players signed the complaint, but the decision was wholeheartedly supported by the entire team, she tweeted. Yeah, it is one of them. It is one of them ones. The Federation said in a statement that it had not seen the complaint and couldn't address specifics. We are disappointed about this action, a spokesman for the governing body said. We have been a world leader in women's soccer and are proud of the commitment we have made to building the women's game in the United States over the past 30 years. Now, that's across the pond. Over here, on the 6th of April 2016, the UK government is to hold an inquiry into the issue of homophobia in sport. The Culture, Media and Sport Committee is planning to investigate the different experiences of men and women across a range of sports. An inquiry into racism in football 4 years ago found homophobia was emerging as a bigger problem than other forms of discrimination. It's clear that homophobia remains a serious issue, said Culture, Media and Sport Committee Chair Jesse Norman. Former Leeds winger Robbie Rogers became the first openly gay athlete to play in a top North American sport league when he featured for LA Galaxy in 2013. We are particularly interested in looking at possible differences between sports and sports governing bodies and between the experiences of sportsmen and sportswomen. There are no openly gay male professional footballers in England or Scotland, and the inquiry will hear opinions on why athletes may be fearful of being open about their sexuality. The public can submit written submissions on the issue before the deadline of the 29th of April 2016. Now, one thing I do want to ask first and foremost are if any of the Skypers want to join in. Did want to ask that first and foremost. And Gezzie Fizzle, of course, let us know your views in Skype as well. I mean, Jamie Bailey, do you want to jump in on these two? Yeah, UK government hold an inquiry on homophobia in sport, and also the US women's soccer team accusing the US Soccer Federation of wage discrimination. Have at it.
race discrimination happens all over the world, so I'll leave that where it is.
Well, in regards to that, that particular example of it, have you got anything to say on that?
Not really. It's a bit like this. It's a bit like what I see on pretty much Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any other social media website that are talking about hate crime, or people standing up for black people, people standing up for white people, people hating cops. Yeah, continue. In terms of the homophobia side of things, I think this is more of a case of reputation. If you look at this again, I'll go back to WWE. You're not going to see somebody come out as openly gay, although somebody just did not too long ago. But the funny thing is, he's not really been given a match since. So, and if he has, it's not really been a match where it's just him and somebody else. Again, it's one of those things. If somebody comes out as gay, then their reputation goes down the pan, and they probably don't get chosen for another match, or it becomes a bit more awkward. And some people won't take it as awkward. Some people will say, "Yep, that's a good thing." But there will still be a lot of people from maybe 10 years ago or maybe even 50 years ago, who will say, "Well, if he's gay, then why is he playing for my club?" Or if he's this, then I shouldn't be supporting this club. Or they will come up with some sort of excuse and some sort of question that shouldn't be asked. And that's basically why they're probably not bringing it up, because their endorsements will probably rely on them keeping their mouth shut. So again, that's probably reputation more than truth. And it's the same thing with most places. The Wales is, I'll take you back to the Wales, I think he's prop, or I can't remember if he's a forward or a prop, but Gareth Thomas. And he waited until after his career at full international level to actually say that he was gay. So, and he was with I think he had a wife and kids as well. I don't know if he did, but he came out and said this. He came out and said it after his career. So again, that's another complication that you have to come up with, is your image plus your reputation plus the money that you're getting also constitutes towards your reputation.
But see, you know what? But see, that's kind of the scary thing about it, and for me would be a reason why an inquiry into homophobia in sport is so important. Because if people feel that their sexuality is going to have a negative impact on their reputation and sponsorships and the money that they can and do earn, then surely something has to be done about that. So for me personally, that would be where this homophobia in sport inquiry will be so important, and hopefully it gets the media coverage that it needs, because if there are still certain draconian, antiquated attitudes in sport, then we need them, of course, as a sport and as a civilized culture. You need to know where these attitudes are coming from and how these attitudes are still being held in 2016. That would be where that's important for me. But also with the US, with the issue about the US women's soccer team accusing the Federation of wage discrimination, you know what? Being paid 4 times less than their male counterparts, when they generated nearly $20 million more in revenue, that's a disgrace. That's why we've linked these two topics together, because the fact of the matter is that homophobia is a form of discrimination, of course, and it's one of the biggest. But also, you've got gender discrimination in on this as well. So it's one of them ones where the fact of the matter is, it is all discrimination, and it's a disgrace. Now, for me, I see it as, if you do equal work to someone else, you should be paid equally. That's just natural fair dues. That just goes without saying. It should go without saying, to be perfectly honest. And if you're drawing $20 million more in revenue than the men's team, then you should definitely be paid equally. Because if you're an equal draw, then you should be paid equally. Whether it's bumped up in terms of bonuses or whether it's just a flat rate, you should be paid equally. Because you are actually a major part of drawing in a lot of money. And yeah, Jamie Bay, yep, just like the Qatar workers, that we were discussing last week. For me, it's one of them. It really beggars belief that if I was part of a team responsible for bringing in $20 million more of revenue than another team, I would be pretty PO'd if I wasn't getting that reflected in my pay. Because at the end of the day, if you're a big draw, you deserve to be paid like a big draw. I mean, you don't see, like, let's put this into some sort of context. I'll use a wrestling example, and I'll come back to a football one. You wouldn't see. I mean, it's a case of, you look at, say, someone like let's pluck two names out of the air from the mid to late 90s. Mike Enos and Hulk Hogan. They would not be paid equally, for the pure reason that Mike Enos was a jobber. His main role was looking up at the lights every night after being pinned. I think he was pinned like 4 or 5 times in Goldberg streak. But Hulk Hogan, one of the biggest superstars of all time, if not the biggest superstar of all time in pro wrestling, obviously is going to get paid more because he's the bigger draw. Now, if the women in the United States are the bigger draw, then they should get paid more than the men's side, because they're the ones drawing the money in. They're the ones making the money. So it's only fair that they get paid more. Now, if they were an equal draw to the men's side, then they should get paid equally still, because they're bringing in as much money as the other side for the same amount of work. So it's one of them ones. It should be, in theory, a non-argument. But the fact that there's one line in particular. I think it was that Kessler has said. In early January, something that Jeffrey Kessler, the players' lawyer, said. In early January, the Women's National Team Players Association submitted a reasonable proposal for a new CBA that had equal pay for equal work as its guiding principle. US Soccer responded by suing the players in an effort to keep in place the discriminatory and unfair treatment they have endured for years. For US Soccer to sue the players just to keep them in line, no, that's not on. That really is not on. It's like, all right, cool. You can try and fight for equal pay, but we'll sue you. So essentially, you're threatening to take away, similar to the Qatar workers last week. If you speak up, we'll take away your source of income then, which is pretty much where they're going. It's a liberty. It really is. It's not fair. It's totally unfair. So it's one of them was, it's not good. It really ain't good. But I mean, there was something interesting dropped in the Skype chat, and JBK, let us know if you want to jump back in on these two topics. But Russ Vernon, you mentioned something quite interesting in regards to certain views held by certain fans of certain clubs in relation to Robbie Rogers. Would you like to articulate that for the people?
Yes, Slim, because when he, like I said in the chat, he could have, when he came out as gay, called Robbie Rogers, because he was still training with us, and he had a few. He just missed out. He was still training with us because he was coming back from injury, and the manager at the time gave him a contract till the end of that upcoming season. And 2 weeks into that, a lot of the fans from Leeds United emailed the club and said if Rodgers pulled on a Leeds United shirt since coming out, that they wouldn't support us anymore because, as they put it, we don't accept gays at Leeds United, which I agree with what says, which is totally wrong. And I'm so glad that he's now got a club in LA Galaxy and their fans accept him for who he is, and unlike some of the ones at Leeds United, and he's enjoying his football again. Yes, he may have dropped back into being a defender now rather than a winger when he was at Leeds, but at least he's still playing the sport he loves, whether he's straight or obviously he's not, because he's gay. It doesn't matter what sexuality are, you can still play for a club. And those Leeds fans at the time, loads of them were inboxing me saying, what do you think? I went, I think he should have been allowed to play, and 2 or 3 of those blocked me and put word out that I was gay, which obviously I'm not, and so I think that's totally wrong with what Leeds fans said. And if any other footballer feels about coming out as gay, wanting to play in England, and some fans are backlash, ignore the fans, just do what you want to do, and if the club accepts you, just play because the club who won you, then you're getting the money from the club, not the fans. It's their choice what they do. You just do this. You just play the sport you want and play for the team that you want. That's all I've got to say on that, Liam.
No, I mean, it's one of them was the fact that, like I said earlier, the fact that there are still views like that being held. You're gay, so you can't play for our club. That's why, for me, the inquiry into homophobia in sport, that's going to be held by the UK government, is so important, because we need to get to the bottom of this kind of thing, so that those antiquated, draconian views can be dispelled once and for all. We're supposed to be a civilized society, so it's like football, sport should be for everyone, inclusive, not exclusive. It's one of them ones. That's how we feel. That's how we conduct PTLIVE shows. PTLIVE shows, videos. We're inclusive, not exclusive, and sport should be the same way. Sport is extremely powerful in terms of being able to bring people together, and for that one reason alone, nobody should be excluded from it. No matter what the level, nobody should be excluded from the game. It's one of them where sport is for everyone. I mean, Jamie Bailey, you wanted to jump back in as well, and that was an interesting point that you put in the Skype chat just now. But you wanted to jump in again on this topic.
Yes, I'm not too happy with that Leeds. Well, I'm not going to be happy with that Leeds fan anyway. Leeds shouldn't be happy with that Leeds fan. But it's again, you look at some of the reputations from some of the clubs nowadays. From back in the days, you look at Portsmouth, Chelsea, Cardiff, all the teams that we can announce and we can say, yep, they have something to say, or you're almost guaranteed that they might have something to say, or they will say something about this, and not in a good way either. The problem nowadays is that Twitter is not Twitter. Sorry, the media have given everyone a license to voice their opinion. So the words of "it's a free country" and that phrase means nothing anymore. I don't know how it's even being brought into the establishments of government ruling or law, but it's wrong. because you can't say what you want to say anymore. Number one, and I'm not trying to say that he should have a voice of what he wants to say. I'm saying if you've got to, for me, I've been brought up on the whole idea of if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So really and truly, if I was going to be talking to Robbie Rogers myself, I would have said, well done. Much respect for you for saying who you are. At the end of the day, didn't really need to know it, but I'm glad that you said it as well. I would still play I'll still play football. I'll still play football alongside you. I don't have a problem with inviting you to my house, even if you know somebody that I know of. Things like that. It's one of those things of if we're going to be going alongside somebody, that's how it should be. If nowadays it's just too many people in the media have given us license to kind of go, you can say what you want to say, and if you don't get in trouble for it, then that's just cool. That's just all right. When really and truly, no, it's not. It's never been okay, and the only reason why it's only been somebody saying it's a free country now. It's not. You don't get your words are pretty much scrutinized from the moment that you are born. So really and truly, I just don't like the way that things are said. And to that supporter, no supporter should be telling you that you can't play for the team, whether you're black or gay or Asian or female or male. You shouldn't be told that you can't play football. It's as simple as that. If you're anti-Semitic, fine. Keep that in your private life so that you can get on with your life. But if you are really that anti-Semitic, stay the hell away. Don't bother and try and bring down the values of everybody else because you can't be bothered to keep yours in check. That simple.
I mean, it's one. Them was the fact. The fact is, I mean, it's just one of them ones where a lot of people are very quick to judge and throw stones in glass houses and that kind of thing. But it's just sad to see that people are so quick to say, oh, you're gay, you're less of a person. Oh, you're this, you're less of a person. Oh, you shouldn't be allowed to do, you shouldn't be allowed that. And it's like what? It's like what? I still don't get where these. It's just this discriminatory thing. I don't understand discrimination on a general basis. I mean, I don't understand it. I personally don't understand how the US women's national team can draw $20 million more than the male team, but get paid 4 times less. It's one of them. I still don't get that. I mean, I just don't. But I don't understand that, to be perfectly honest. I mean, of course, that's the good old boy networks and all that kind of thing. But it is really unfair. The fact is, it is really unfair, and I can't blame the members of the US women's national team for suing because of it and taking it legally. I mean, it's one of them ones where it's like I'm not surprised by that. I mean, it's one of them ones where it's like, yeah, sue for what you deserve. But this whole thing with. I mean, Jamie Bailey said poor education is where it comes from, greed and hatred. And yeah, I mean, ignorance is bliss, and some people are happier than a pig rolling in their own feces when it comes to ignorance. And as he said, belittling the common man to make him seem less efficient than someone they call a superstar. It's just one of them ones. I mean, the amount of things that need to change in football is absolutely scandalous. It really is. The amount of things that need to change is just mad, because you've got these kind of inconsistencies that the powers that be in football are not getting involved in changing. You got the issues with UEFA now. You got the issue with FIFA. You got the issues with the US women's team not getting paid what they deserve. I mean, as said, when you're generating nearly 20 million more in revenue than the men's team, you deserve. I mean, it's one. Even if it's only for 1 year, you deserve a lot more. Well, you deserve financial restitution for that. It's like your pay should get bumped up, or at least you should get the bonuses for being such a big draw. But I mean, like incentive-based, performance-based kind of contracts should be the norm. Where it's like, right, if you draw this amount of money, you get this amount of money. I mean, it's one of them because it just ends up looking bad on the Football Association that is actually letting that happen and letting it continue to happen. I mean, it's one of them ones. That's my take on it. It's just it's not good. It's not good, and it needs to change. And personally, I'd hope that the US women's national team, the representatives, I hope they win that case, because it would be a landmark. It would be a landmark if they won it. If Lloyd, Solo, Morgan, and Sauerbrunn actually won it. And I'm wrapping up as well. It would be very interesting if they won it, because at the end of the day, equal pay and equal rights and to be treated with respect should be basic. That should be a basic prerequisite of being a human being. It should be basic things like we discussed last week about the Qatari workers. It's one of them ones. It's basic stuff. This is basic stuff that everybody should be, basic human rights that everybody should be guaranteed. You do equal work, you get equal pay. Pure and simple. That's the way it should be. So, it's one of them ones. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to improve a game, and essentially this is part of what it's about, improving the game. If you want more people to get into a game, you help to improve it. If you want to help to improve it, then you give people what they're due. If people are doing equal work to their counterparts, then they should be paid equally for it. Because then that shows, right, everything is on an even keel. This is a level playing field. And if it's a level playing field, then people are going to want to get involved. And the more people want to get involved, the more you can develop the sport. And the more you develop the sport, the better the sport gets. And the better the sport gets, the better it is for everybody. Not just short term, not just medium term, but long term. But there are a lot of people not thinking long term. Because at the end of the day, imagine for a second being a teenage girl and you're looking to get into football and you're thinking, yeah, this could be a career for me. I could play at the top level. And then you see that those at the top level are generating nearly $20 million more in revenue than their male counterparts, but still getting paid 4 times less. That's going to be a significant factor in putting you off, because it's going to be like, wait, hold on, this sport is really unfair. I don't think I want to be a part of that. I don't think I want to be a part of a sport that is basically holding my gender down. So there's that side of it as well, in my humble